Warning: the following program is solely intended for a mature audience. Any of the idiotic opinions and views expressed on this show are solely opinions of Dark Fringe Radio and not of its advertisers, which is completely pointless because this poorly produced, dumbass podcast has no advertisers. Furthermore, any rebroadcast or redistribution of Dark Fringe Radio podcasts without the permission is strictly prohibited. If you do, we will find you. Then we will send 3 black-eyed children to your home or office to collect your soul. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Coming to you live from the Mistopheles Studios, it's Dark Fringe Radio. And welcome to Dark Fringe Radio. Happy 2019. It's the first episode of the year. Thanks for joining us on Dark Fringe Radio. I'm your host, Will Martinez, and we got a great episode for you tonight. Of course, my co-host for the evening and every evening, Jay Galosi. Jay, what's up?
What is going on, my friend?
Not much, man. Not much. A lot of stuff going on in the news, man, and just glad to have started 2019, man, with you, and starting this podcast again, man.
2019 is going to be our year, man. It's going to be a good year. 2018 was a rough one, but 2019 is already sky's the limit. Absolutely.
Totally agree, man. So I just wanted to remind everybody how to listen to the show. You can catch us pretty much anywhere where you catch all your podcasts, SoundCloud, iTunes, also Google Play. If you catch us in any of those formats, please give a 5-star rating and also some type of feedback, comments as well. That really helps us out at the podcast and helps us out with the advertisers. So please do that and help us out with the podcast. We'd really appreciate it. And social media, you can catch us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also on YouTube, just look up Dark Fringe Radio. That's what you just search, and we'll pop up there. All the episodes of the podcast are up on Facebook and also on Twitter, of course on YouTube as well. And Instagram is kind of our social media that we kind of post on a daily basis there. So you can catch all the latest news on the Instagram front there. So that's pretty much it, man. Jay, did you have anything for the intro? Anything else?
No, just keep up following us, getting those 5-star ratings. The more we can grow, the more we can reach, the more we can educate, the more we can conversate.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a new segment that I wanted to introduce to the podcast, Jay, is a mailbag segment.
Message from the dark side there is.
And we've been actually getting some emails from a couple of listeners of the podcast, and so I wanted to share them on the show and discuss basically what they had to say. So we'll start.
I'll be damned. We got fans.
Yeah, we do.
I'm proud of that.
We do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm psyched.
Yeah, it's exciting, and please, again, I want to encourage everybody, if you do have something you want to send over to us, whether it be just general questions, anything about the show suggestions, guest suggestions, anything like that, shoot that over to thedarkfringe@gmail.com. Again, that's thedarkfringe@gmail.com. So, Jay, tonight, the first email that we got was from Ernie Gifford from Tupelo, Mississippi. And the subject of the email was show suggestion. So he has a suggestion for a show. Ernie writes, hello, guys. My name is Ernie. I've been listening to the podcast for the last 2 months. Really enjoy all the content that you guys are putting out. I wanted to know if you guys would ever be doing or interested in doing a show on near-death experiences. The subject fascinates me. I had an NDE about 5 years ago, and ever since then I've been able to tap into and access another side of my brain. I believe now that I've developed psychic abilities and have vivid and lucid dreaming. Nevertheless, I think it would be a fascinating subject to talk about. Thank you for all your shows, and keep up the great work. So that's from Ernie Gifford from Tupelo, Mississippi. And so he's talking about near-death experiences.
That's a great show idea.
Right?
That's a great show idea. That's definitely something that there's a lot of content to go over. There's a lot of different people have had different experiences with them. And, maybe we can see if we can find some kind of central line between them. Maybe we can figure something out, being so smart, you and I will.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe if he's available, he can come on and tell us about his near-death experience. I would like to hear about it and hear what his life was like before and how it kind of changed after.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ernie, we'll reach out to you and see if you could be available for the podcast, and you can come on and talk about your experiences, and we can talk about it and really get into it. So thank you for sending the email over to us. I think it's a great suggestion. Like Jay said, we've never done a podcast on near-death experiences. Jay, have you ever had a near-death experience in your life?
It's the closest I've come was I got into a nasty car accident. Not nasty. I mean, I was fine. But I was in a car that was airborne and landed on its front end. I got to be honest, I don't think I was anywhere near death enough for that to count. That was probably one of the scariest moments of my life. So, no, I have not had one.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've had a couple. yeah, I've had a couple scrapes. But, I fell out of a moving van doing about 45 on Seacrest Boulevard. I've told you that story before. And then when I was about 4, I fell out of a third-story window and fell onto the first-story roof. So that was also another, scrape there. But man, it's
how the hell you're still here is nothing short of a miracle.
Exactly. But no, again, thanks, Ernie, for sending over that email, man, and we'll be out in contact with you and see if we can get you on the show. So thanks again for sending that email over to us. The second email tonight, Jay, comes from Ronnie Jimerson from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So the subject for us on this email is the flat Earth. Oh, boy.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. This could either be really good or really bad. So let's see what...
It's going to be really something one way or the other. So what does Chattanooga say?
Well, Ronnie Jimerson from Chattanooga says, the name's Ronnie from Chattanooga. That's how he starts off the email. I listened to your podcast about the flat Earth and such, and I think it's a load of bullshit. Okay. Wow. All right. We're starting off strong. So how in the hell can anybody believe that we live on a flat surface? I agree. Okay. It don't.
Let me be clear, Ronnie. I'm with you, bro.
Yeah.
I don't even think I was part of that interview, but I was. I've been from day one. This motherfucker is nowhere near flat. But continue. Sorry, Ronnie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll explain my reasoning for doing a podcast on the flat Earth after this email here, Ronnie. But it don't even make any sense. I'm reading that verbatim. So all them history books from the beginning of time have been saying we live on a round-shaped planet. Where the hell do these people come up with these crazy ideas anyhow? Okay. Does the Bible... Here we go. He goes on to say, the Bible says the Lord shall spread his love all around the earth. Around. And he puts around in big letters, caps.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, he says like round, like a ball. Period. Anyways, I wanted to let you know and find out what your take was on the whole issue, because I find it kind of sounded like you were agreeing with him on the podcast. Thank you for the show, and appreciate it. And that was it. So, Ronnie, strong email, man. Thanks for sending that in. We do appreciate it. We even like these kinds, these feisty ones. The reason why I did the podcast, Ronnie, on the flat Earth is because the flat Earth theory is a popular theory. As much as you want to say you want to agree to it or not, it is a popular theory. You can't deny that fact. So that's the reason why I did a podcast on it. And quite frankly, it was a poll that I actually posted on, I believe, Facebook. And I had that amongst 3 other subjects, and it blew everything else out of the water.
It blew everything out. It's such a divisive topic, because from what I've interacted, or from what I've seen, or from what I've heard, the conversations I've had, if you believe the Earth is flat, you believe it with such strength, such passion, and they really think that we've missed the mark, us round earthers, you and us, Ronnie. That they seem to be so, like, they're ready for a fight. They're always ready for an argument.
Yeah.
You know, and on that podcast, I do remember, Will asking questions, and sometimes we do try to have to be professional. We can't try to piss off people that come on, not with where we're at yet.
Exactly.
So we will get there, Ronnie. We will get there.
Yes, we will get there.
But it's such a divisive topic that we had to talk about it. You couldn't not talk about it. In fact, it was probably better that I wasn't there because I don't know if I would have been able to keep my mouth shut because I believe the Earth is round, and I believe there's a million different ways to show that, even if you look beyond just the Earth. If you really think about it, you can look into a telescope and look out into the stars, into the universe. There are no flat planets. Everything is a shape. Everything's round. Everything's semi-spherical.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't really stand to make any sense that unless everything revolves around the Earth, which I don't think we're that important.
No.
That why would we be round also? And that's just if you want to take it to the very basic, bottom basement level kind of an argument. But it's such a huge divisive thing that the people that believe that the Earth is flat, they're some of the most what's the word I'm looking for? They're just so defensive and ready for an argument because they think that just because we disagree with them, we think that they're stupid. It's not that at all.
They're very sensitive. They're very sensitive. They're
very sensitive.
Yeah, they're very triggered. As soon as you start fighting back, they're like, "Oh, you're just reiterating what you've been taught all your life." And I'm like, "Well, fuck! I can look at the moon. The moon is round, right? Why would the Earth be any different from the fucking moon?" Excuse my language, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because
it bothers me when you curse. Yeah.
So to answer your
very divisive topic, it had to be talked about. We had to cover it, and we'll revisit it another day, and maybe have a little bit more of a debate with whomever we have on at that point, because we'll kind of reset our footing. But that's why we did it, Ronnie. It was a good episode. It gave someone an opportunity to come out and speak their mind, whether we agree with them or not, which is a huge part of what this entire society could use.
Exactly. And Ronnie, just to answer your question, where I stand, I do believe that the Earth is round. I do not believe it's flat. There are scenarios where you could see where somebody could make a point of something, of maybe a scenario where they could say the Earth is flat, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, that's where I stand. The Earth is round. Okay. But again, as Jay said, we had to do the episode of that podcast, and again, it was actually one of the highest rated podcasts that we've done, and that just goes to show you, it's top 5, and out of 46 episodes. So that goes to show you that people want to hear about it, as much as it may sound crazy, and as much as we don't agree to it, like I and Jay and yourself, Ronnie. We believe that the Earth is round, but again, these subjects that come up, they become so popular, you just have to talk about them. So again, Ronnie, listen, thank you for sending that email. We do appreciate that, and we encourage more of you guys out there that listen to the podcast. Send in emails, please. We want to hear back from you. We love the feedback. We love to, talk about it here on the podcast. Me and Jake can chop it up and just, discuss it and give you our take on it. So that's it for the mailbag for this week, Jay. Appreciate you doing that one with me, and we can get into some news that I want to kind of talk about first. You know Jordan Peele, right?
Yeah. I do know Jordan Peele. He and I went to different colleges together.
Yeah, well, he has a great career now in filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Ever since that the movie that Get Out that he came out with a couple of years ago, which did phenomenal in the box office. It's a gem of a horror film. I mean, it's definitely one of the ones up there. It's very unique in its own way. Now he has a new one called Us that's coming out. Have you heard anything about it?
I've not heard anything about it before you brought it up to me. I don't think I had tonight. I don't think I've heard anything about it at all.
Yeah. So again, the cool thing about Jordan Peele is that he really focuses in on the African American actors and type of background in these movies, which I think is great. Gives a lot of depth, gives things a different take, because obviously people react to different situations depending on where they're from, right? So it's good. It's good to get that aspect of that, the African American culture side, and he does it here with this movie where it's kind of focusing on this family where they encounter a group of doppelgangers, which is basically, if you guys don't know, anybody out there that doesn't know, are people that look exactly like yourselves. So it's like another family that's kind of moved into the neighborhood that look exactly like them. So it's kind of like this twisted thrill ride that it looks like that he's put together when it comes to this film, when it comes to this family and a doppelganger family living like a few houses down, and just things just go completely awry. And people are just raving about this film already. It hasn't even come out yet, but the critics are all talking about it and saying that it's probably one of the best horror films they've seen in a long time, with an original type of theme to it. That's something that a lot of it's not like the same formulaic type of horror film that you always kind of see with like a serial killer guy, killing some, people for one particular reason or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so he takes this whole new approach to this horror film, and it sounds completely like something that it's going to do so well because it's so original.
That sounds really cool. You know what on the topic of movies, not to jump off us.
No, please.
But have you heard M. Night Shyamalan's third movie, I guess, in his whole Unbreakable universe is like getting ready to come out? I think it's called Glass.
Glass, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I've heard some pretty interesting stuff about that one. And of course, coming off the Switch and Unbreakable, which the time off in between has been interesting, and there was that little bit of touch in Switch where you got to see Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see how that leads into Glass, which is, I think that's going to be the final installment of this trilogy. But I never realized Unbreakable was going to be a trilogy. I thought it was pretty cool. That's how it's going. So
yeah, nobody knew.
There's going to be a lot of cool stuff out in the theaters soon.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And nobody knew that was going to be a trilogy. Nobody knew that was going to be a trilogy until after, the second film that he did with James McAvoy, which was a fucking stellar performance. If any of you guys have not seen that movie, where he just snaps in between different characters and personalities. I mean, you saw it, Jay. Did you see it?
I did.
Yeah, I mean, just a fucking remarkable performance. I mean, he just goes from personality to personality, and it's so drastic in between. But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that one as well. So we got Us coming out. We got that one coming out. Glass is coming out. There's a few others that are coming out this year. So, 2019 is shaping up to be quite a year for horror films, and we'll be talking about all those ones that are coming out. Jay, did you see that Bird Box film by chance that's on Netflix everybody's been talking about?
I have heard a shit ton about it, but no, I've not actually watched it.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
Sit down and watch it.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know if I want to do a review on it since it's been out already for a couple of weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, and a lot of people have seen it already, but I'm kind of curious to see what it's all about. I've heard some really good stuff about it. I've heard some really bad stuff about it, but again, I think I may check that out over the weekend and maybe do a review for next week. So another thing I wanted to talk about, Jay, a voice of our childhood and most of our adulthood, Mean Gene Okerlund passes away last week. And for those that don't know, Mean Gene Okerlund was a color commentator and also a backstage interviewer at the WWF. And that's wrestling.
Best to ever do it.
Yeah, the best to ever do it. I mean, he he did it from like 1984 all the way to 1993. And then he switched companies and went over to WCW 1993 to 2001. So he had a long career of these, backstage interviews, had a hell of a voice, was able just to be able to like get the best out of, the best performance out of all these wrestlers. He was just able to, ask the right questions and, tell the right story.
They always had such a good back and forth, and he was always, and maybe it's because he was so little compared to them, but they never like pushed him around. Even I remember there was one where Macho Man Randy Savage said something about, I think his face is crooked, and he said something about his beard. Like there was always such a great back and forth, and it, a show that I've referenced that I listen to all the time. It's the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN.
Yes, and
they like to go back to wrestlers often. They talk to Ric Flair all the time, but they used to talk to Mean Gene. Every so many months they would have him on, and if you ever get an opportunity, anybody, if you guys listening ever get a chance, you really want to hear what Mean Gene was really, really like, and hear how he was so good with back and forth. He was just so great with the give and take of a conversation. Really, really talented and very, very understated at it. Nobody really thinks about how hard it can be to have that kind of back and forth, but just to everybody. He can do it with anybody. You go back to the Dan Le Batard shows, and you pull up them interviewing Mean Gene Okerlund, and they are some of the funniest and most interesting interviews and conversations. That's a strong suggestion for me.
Yeah, and I mean, he is beloved in the wrestling community. I mean, he's the one guy that everybody says that he gets along with everyone. There's no one that is, ever said a bad word about him. He just had that knack and personality just to be able to get along with everybody and anyone. So, I mean, the conversations and the back and forth, you talk about that, and how good he was. I mean, of course, none other better than, Hulk Hogan, who, basically kind of put that in the forefront by, talking about Mean Gene and, bringing his name up in the interview, right from the beginning. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. He always would start the interview like that with him. And so that was the beginning of that. And, of course, he had no better, back and forth than with Hulk Hogan. And, of course, on Monday Night Raw, Hulk, he did a little bit of a tribute to Mean Gene, and it was great. And if you guys check it out, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Just look it up and you can find it there. But yeah, again, I wanted to discuss Mean Gene Okerlund passing away last week, and very sad loss for the community, especially for us. We grew up listening to that guy.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely one of those ones that, like, when you hear it, you're like, damn.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Yeah, man. And so, tonight we're going to be getting into some real deep stuff, man. And we're going to be talking about... Well, go ahead.
Actually, there was another celebrity that just passed that was huge in our childhood. Maybe not quite as big as Mean Gene Okerlund, but Bob Einstein, also known as Super Dave Osborne.
Super Dave Osborne. Yeah, I remember that guy.
Super Dave Osborne just passed away also.
Yeah, I remember that guy. He used to have like specials that you would
real
come
grainy
out.
Voice.
Yeah, but he used to get fucked up. Like, he used to get jacked up when he used to do all these stunts, and he would just really get messed up.
His actual name is Bob Einstein. He's been with Curb Your Enthusiasm most recently. His brother is Albert Brooks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which Albert Brooks changed his last name from Albert to Albert Brooks because otherwise his name was Albert Einstein. No lie.
Not a bad name to follow, though.
No, you can't do that. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. It's all pratfall shit, but it was just funny. It was on a level that nobody was really touching at that time. And him and Mean Gene both passed away this past week, and it's a sad loss for all of them.
Yeah,
for both of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember Super Dave. They used to sell VHSs for those. You don't know, those were like big cassette tapes that went into these things called VCRs. They used to sell his VHS, like the greatest of his like wipeouts, like late at night, like on USA, and they would show all his like wipeouts, like all the shit when he got fucked up really bad. Yeah, they just compile it onto one tape. And they sold it for like $29.99, man. I remember that, but it's crazy, man. But yeah, no, it's again, sad week for those two passing over this past week, and rest in peace. So that's it for the intro and the mailbag and news. Tonight we're going to get into some pretty deep conversation regarding the Dark Overlord, and that's a hacker group that's been responsible for a lot of things as of late, at least for the last 5 to 6 years, and we'll be talking all about that here in a moment. Again, if you guys have any suggestions for the show, please send that over to thedarkfringe@gmail.com. We'll be back in a second talking about the Dark Overlord.
Well, I'm afraid not. Hackers are a grave threat to the national security. This incident just proves, without a doubt, that we need increased funding to stop.
Hold on, I'm getting into
Hola, boys and girls. It is I, the serial killer, making my first coast-to-coast, worldwide, global television appearance. Yes, that's right. I'm here to tell you about this heinous scheme hatched from within Ellingson Mineral. But for what, you ask? World domination? Nay. something far more attacking. A virus called Da Vinci that when launched would cause Ellingson mineral tankers to capsize was to be blamed on innocent hackers. But this virus was really the smokescreen, right? It could be so vitally important to protect that someone would create such a nasty, antisocial, very uncool virus program. But why? Could it be to cover the tracks of this worm program? A worm that was to steal $25 million. The password to this hungry little sucker belongs to Margot Owens, head of public relations at Ellingson Mineral, and Eugene Belford, computer security officer.
Son of a bitch!
What's this? Is this the unnamed account in the Bahamas where the money was to be stashed? I think so. Unlucky! Yo, kinda feel like God.
Plague? Eugene?
I don't believe about it.
Comedy of errors. I don't even know how to work a VCR, let alone a computer. Get off! Look, listen, I'll make a deal. Eugene Belford. I know where his mother is. I promise you. Get off of me. I need a lawyer.
All right, and welcome back to Dark Fringe Radio, and we're going to be talking about the Dark Overlord hacker group. Now, Jay, we talk about hackers, and you bring up hackers. You talk to somebody about hackers. You think about people that break into bank accounts and steal credit card numbers and your identity and social security numbers.
Post weird shit on Facebook.
Yeah, stuff like that. But this is this group, the Dark Overlord group. They're a little bit different than most, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard from them until you brought them up to me, and then I did a little bit of research. They're definitely a whole different animal. I mean, this is some next level blackmail, not so much Robin Hood kind of thing, but they're a powerful group.
Yeah, they're real powerful. And just to give you guys an example of what Jay's talking about, let's go back to 2017. The Dark Overlords, they texted death threats to students, and they dumped voicemails from the victims. And what I mean by this is, just listen to this. The Johnson County Community School District in Iowa closed several of its schools after parents received text messages threatening to harm or kill their children. Just think about that first off. Let that sink in. For those of you that are parents out there, you know what I'm talking about. If you got a text message like that, you would be absolutely beside yourself, okay? First off. According to multiple local media reports, now a group of hackers who have traditionally tried to extort money from targets through blackmail or intimidation has claimed sending messages and has released a set of alleged voicemails seemingly from affected students and concerned parents. Although it's not totally clear as to the new incident, it's part of extortion effort. The news signals as an unusual and worrying tactic when it comes to cyber criminals. Now, this is like a new tactic, Jay, that we're seeing with these criminals out there. They're taking your sensitive information, whether it could be anything, you know what I mean? And they're using it against you. That's the scary part of it.
No, it's definitely frightening because they have the means and the ability to do whatever they want, take whatever they've got and post it. It could be very sensitive, very private things, and just put it anywhere they want or else. And then, they kind of got you by the short curlies.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, the Dark Overlord group, they're previously tied to extortion of Netflix. After hacking a production studio, the group started in mid-2016 by targeting a slew of medical centers across the United States before moving on to a number of private companies such as commercial adhesives manufacturer Gorilla Glue was one company that they kind of got into. Since around the last month, the group has shifted its focuses all over the place. And we're going to be talking about the most recent focus that it's got into. But, talking about this particular, incident, they're basically using these tactics to raise up Bitcoin. they're using Bitcoin as what they want as far as a ransom. So it's not like we're talking about cash or wiring funds or anything like that. We're talking about Bitcoin, and the reason why Bitcoin is because it can't be tracked and traced. So that's the reason why, number one.
I mean, it's pretty smart.
It is smart. It is very smart. And in this case, the Dark Overlord hacked the community school district, attained a cache of data, used stolen contacts and details to send out threatening messages in mass, saying, like, I'm going to kill some kids at your son's school. I mean, that's the text messages that they were getting, Jay. Like, when you get that, I mean, that's
frightening, dude.
It's frightening.
I would be beside myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're not going to send your daughter or your son to school that day. I'm not going to send I'm not sending Antonio over there. I can tell you that right now. It's not going to happen. And so, in this case, they're getting these messages, and they actually decided to cancel classes for that day. And it's crazy to believe that that's even possible in this day and age. But you really can't be too surprised again either. And again, they stole the voicemails from parents that were calling in. So somehow they were able to hack into the voicemails of these people who are actually calling into the school district and leaving messages. So it's really crazy. It's really crazy what they're doing here. So that's in 2017. Before that, they actually tried to hack Netflix, and they actually were able to put up for basically ransom was the last season of Orange is the New Black. And they said they were basically going to release it before it was supposed to be officially released on Netflix. And I think they held up Netflix for a bunch of Bitcoin as well. And I don't think they paid it off, and I think they released it. And people were able to actually see the whole season on, like, I think torrents, which are like, it's a whole nother, like, fucking thing where you can download shit. But yeah, so they were even able to do that. And now this was the next thing they did in 2017. And then it continues because in 2018, people are starting to kind of like tightening the noose on them. But next thing you know, they fucking hack into the U.S. government and they start pulling records of insurance companies during 9/11 and things that were going on after 9/11. And they are basically saying that they have proof that, there was something nefarious going on with that whole scenario.
Yeah, well, that's some real next level shit. That's the hacking of the insurance companies, finding the loopholes that could prove once and for all about 9/11. I mean, really, without a doubt, because there's a reason why it's still considered a conspiracy theory, because it's one of those things that there are a lot of holes in the story, but people who aren't really looking with those kinds of eyes, they can still take it for what they believe it was, which was a terrorist attack on America and so on and so forth. But to get these documents and have those certified pieces of insurance and have them, the benefit, like, really to show what happened that day, that is ballsy. And not only is it ballsy, but again, part of it could be Robin Hood. Like, this could be really them.
I think so.
Taking it to to that next level and saying, here, we want to show the truth, shed the light on what actually happened. But they're not just stealing from the rich to take to the poor. No, they're stealing from the rich to keep for themselves.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. And listen, it's not like these government officials haven't tried to get these people. They said that the news was kind of, tightening on this group, but the problem is that they're international. Right. I think they've arrested 3 people out of the whole group, Jay. I mean, okay, you got 3 people. I'm sure we're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of operatives in this group. We're not talking about 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the problem is that, these people also use a bevy of just different software where they're able to use VPNs, hide their internet, address. They're able to hack into these things invisibly, you know what I mean, and not leave a trace. That's the problem with these guys. It's so hard to catch them. That's the problem. The problem is that the people that they are catching, they're so low level that it doesn't even help the situation because they don't have anything to do with the guys on top because the skill level is so different. You know what I'm saying?
They don't, right.
Yeah, it's like these guys over here are like stealing rims on the bottom, but these other guys here at the top, they're robbing banks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it's just like, the old mob family. The guys you're getting, the ones on the street, they're the thugs. They're low level. Their aspirations might be high, but their abilities might not be there. It's like Al Capone, right? They only got Al Capone on tax evasion.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's crazy. That's what this now relates to today. All right, they pick up 3 people out of what's probably hundreds of people. And these guys are the lowest of the low level because the top guys, they're not making the mistakes that's getting them caught.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're not lying. I mean, and so this latest development now with this whole 9/11 thing, the group says that they're simply out for Bitcoin in return for the data that they claim is linked to litigation for the September 11th terrorist attacks. When asked if the alleged attacks affecting major insurance outfits, Hiscox and Lloyd's of London were carried out to stroke 9/11 conspiracy theories, and the group emailed answer read, "We're doing this to fuel our Bitcoin wallets." That's what the quote was. And the Dark Overlord has long perpetrated extortion attempts following hacks of studios. Of course, we talked about Netflix. Basically, they've acquired 18,000 documents, Jay, many of which related 9/11 events. And on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, the last week, the hacker group began posting links on Twitter and Pastebin, which is another kind of like a social media thing, like almost like Reddit, which they are said to be crowdfunding on the release of those documents. So once they've received a certain amount of financial goals ranging from 250 in Bitcoin, rising up to 2 million, more and more files would be released. So basically, once it starts growing and growing, the more and more documents they're going to release until they finally release all the documents. So, yeah, it's like a sliding scale of ransom.
I mean, listen, you got to think outside the box. I mean, how often is it just that someone is ransoming something and it's, all right, I'm going to do this if you don't give me that. But here what they're saying is, if you give us X amount, we'll give you X amount. If you give us X amount more, we'll give you X amount more. So that makes sense. I mean, it's smart.
It's very smart. Very smart. And so what they're quoting on saying is they said that we will be releasing the truth about one of the most recognizable incidents in recent history, and one that is shrouded in mystery with little transparency and not many answers, the hacker wrote. Prior to the account being shut down, the Twitter account, the group contacted WikiLeaks over Twitter, saying Julian Assange is leaking information, might want to get in touch over the information that it acquired. Over email, the Dark Overlord declined to comment, but a Hiscox person said that the leak related to the breach of the unnamed U.S. law firm that advised Hiscox, some of the commercial policyholders, and other insurers. That the incident was reported in April of 2018. So they recognized the incident, that the data, their data information server was breached. The data was extracted from there since April of 2018. This is an interesting thing, Jay. I've never seen anything like this. I don't think we'll ever see anything else like this. I mean, in their own statement.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know, because usually if something is proven to work, there's always copycats, man. Everybody's going to jump up and think that they've got some other way to do it. Now, they might not have the same kind of panache that these guys have, and I'm sure at some point there's going to be an evolution beyond in which what they're doing, because that's just how life goes itself. But I don't think we're ever going to see anybody do it the way these guys are doing it. That agree.
Yeah, and as of last week, as an update, they have released more and more documents. Crowdsource funding has gone up, so more documents have been released. And I think it's only a matter of time where they're going to find a gem in all this stuff. I mean, I know these guys on Reddit, They comb through all this information that comes out. Anytime the CIA declassifies information, they're there downloading this information, skimming through it. There's people out there that just do this for fun. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And they're just waiting.
God bless them.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to find something. It's going to happen. So they're going to stumble onto something. Unless all this shit that they just found was nothing, just benign bullshit, and they're just calling a bluff, which is possible too. But I don't know, man. I think they may know something.
I think they might be onto something. I think they've got something or mountains of something that shed a lot of light on something that not a lot of people want the light shed on.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's funny because, as everyday people, we just have to worry about, our bank account being hacked, our ATM card gets skimmed and our information gets fucked up and somebody's ordering a fucking pair of, ice skates from Wisconsin, on your fucking debit card, and you're like, what the hell happened? But, they fix it, and it gets taken care of pretty quickly these days, thank God. Back then, it was pretty hard when we were growing up. Yeah. Oh, God. Something like that ever happened, it was just a very long process. But now, thank God, it's much easier. And it's all because the financial institutions have gotten used to it. It's that bad. It's just like, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we know this is what happens. You know what I mean? It's just like, they just chalk it up as a loss already.
They just back it up.
Yeah.
They're just like, fine, it's cool, don't worry about it. I get it. And they have to do what they have to do because they have to keep their customers happy. You almost have to kind of feel bad for the banks to a point because they're ultimately the ones, when they get hacked or when they get screwed, they're the ones that are kind of out those monies,
They're financially.
Sometimes it's not.
They're federally insured. That's why they have the FDIC. They're good. Don't worry.
Oh, no, I know. I know. But it's just
like a mom and pop, like a mom and pop bank.
Like the tellers, the
Yes.
poor people that have to interact with the customer service.
Yeah,
like
that too.
They're the ones that you get that person that's just screaming at you, and like, I had nothing to fucking do with it. All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna just give you the money back. That's fine. Let's just give it to you, which is the right thing to do. But again, it's a sad state in which we live in when information is so easily taken and utilized and mismanaged or used in the way it was not meant, that it's like, oh, okay, that happened again? All right, we're going to send you a new card. No problem. It's so it's so commonplace.
Yeah,
That's what I'm looking for.
It is, man. So, yeah, man, I think it's going to be interesting what's going to happen here in the next coming weeks, as the crowdsource funding goes up more and more documents are going to be released. It's quite crazy. I think the next target would be to find out about the government shutdown and find out really what's going on. And I'm sure if they were to hack into some shit like that and get some information, that is something that would be pretty worthwhile as far as financial compensation is concerned. So we're going to be keeping an eye out on the Dark Overlord hacker group, and as the weeks to come, and we'll be giving updates as they come along. But I think we covered that pretty well. The Dark Overlord hacker group, Jay. Thank you so much for talking with me about that.
No, I thank you for educating me on it. Like I said, I find it very interesting. They could both do a lot of good with what they're at. They could stand to make a lot of money, or they could stand to really do some very, very bad things. So it's very interesting to see how they kind of seem to kind of bob and weave around the line. I found it to be a very interesting read, a very interesting thing, and I'm curious to see how they act in the future.
Yeah, and we'll keep everybody up to date as things come along. So, Jay, did you have anything else for the podcast for the night tonight?
That's it for me, friends. Just make 2019 the best year yet, if it's within your opportunity.
Absolutely, and I wanted to give a little bit of a birthday shout out to my daughter Layla. She turned 4 today, so I wanted to say thank you and happy birthday, little girl. And I appreciate you, and I love you very much. So, thanks for everyone.
On that note,
yes.
On that note, wait, hold on, freeze. On that note, because we took a 2-week break. And in that 2-week break, my daughter Callie actually had her 15th birthday.
Oh my gosh, 15th birthday.
15th birthday. She's getting ready to go get her learner's permit. So
it's crazy. Crazy.
Side shout out. Happy birthday, Pickle Face. I love you. You're a great kid. I'm super proud of you. And happy birthday, Layla. You're a beautiful, little, wonderful person.
Absolutely. Happy birthday, Callie. And that's it for us this week on Dark Fringe Radio. I'm Will Martinez for my co-host, Jay Galosi. Thanks for showing up on the podcast, listening, and please make sure when you go on those social media accounts and listen to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating and a comment. We do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week.